That song is still haunting me. I spent a bit of time this week. Well, as you might know, if you've been following along, what we've posted here on the forum, put up a new lesson this week. Oh, it is Friday, April 12th. I hope that's right. I think it is. And I got sidetracked lesson wise. I've always got a bunch of things on different burners, right? And I think I got to finish Georgie Girl. I got to finish up. I know they'll never be another you. Anyhow, all these things in various stages of construction as far as lessons go, and that one, this is Old and Wise from Eye in the Sky album from 1982, Alan Parsons, and I looked at it about 5 or 6 years ago for just for like half an hour and thought someday and didn't really pursue it. And then a bunch of unusual things happened this week. Oh man, let me see if I can fake this. There was a request on the forum to add to my lesson on Eye in the Sky, and to bring in the something from the introduction to it, which is a short little instrumental called Sirius that really it has a very similar, it opens up with a keyboard part, right? That's it. Wow. Okay, so I didn't expect it to go that well. But who knows? That might even be enough. Boy, even just using that short little thing as an intro to Eye in the Sky might be enough. I don't think I can bring in the lead part or whatever, but it's a short little vamp that really it does have 4 chords in it. Well, 3 chords. It's a 4 measure going from B minor to G to E minor and back to B minor. Then of course for Eye in the Sky it just goes from B minor to G before it gets into. Anyhow, so that was one thing that happened. Oh boy! And speaking of that, should I go into this story? No, not yet. And then my longtime friend Karina sent me a message over the weekend saying, "Hey, you ought to do Old and Wise, and I'd like to sing it and stuff like that." So I thought, let me get back to listen to it. So I dialed it back up and decided, yep, it's such a cool progression that so I kind of whipped together a backing track for her to sing to, and she might finish that this weekend, and we might be able to add it to the lesson. Is Karina's demo demonstrating just singing Old and Wise, and so that all sort of got me back on the Alan Parsons kick. And it reminded me that I have an album of Al Stewart's called "The Coldest Winter in Memory" that is that is like outtakes and stuff that just didn't make the final cut. And it includes an instrumental called "Space Traveler." There are two, "Space Traveler 1 and 2, that are basically the melody and chord progression to "Eye in the Sky." And I did find this on. I'll put this up. I'll add a link to this so you can hear this in YouTube. And a few people had remarked that, wow, for this obscure Al Stewart tune, it's funny that he's covering "Eye in the Sky." Well, I think Al's recording was from about 1976. It was the year of the Cat era, which is 6 years before "Eye in the Sky" came out. And Alan Parsons was the producer on Year of the Cat and Time Passages and Modern Times, the album before. So Al was working with Alan quite a bit, and not likely that Al was doing a cover of "Eye in the Sky." It's more likely he was messing around with an instrumental that, anyhow, that eventually saw the light of day as "Eye in the Sky." But let's see, was there any... so now I gotta see if it's worth trying to put a melody together. Let me think about this. So to get the melody in. melody's getting too low. Well, anyway, I might have to pursue that. We'll see. I'm not sure where that's going just yet. Let's see. I had a couple things I wanted to mention. I will get to. Oh, okay. Two quick things. Well, one's going to turn into a long story. It's going to be a little bit of a theory lesson on the circle of fifths. I got to get to that, but I got to give you the backstory. If you may have seen on the forum how this came up, but. First thing is, last Saturday we had a really interesting thing. We've got our spring camp IGC coming up next week starting at the end of next week, and we had a nice little meeting, a little Zoom meeting where some of the people coming got together and we chatted a little bit. So it was kind of cool because what we do for the fall camp is we usually have a barbecue here on the Sunday before camp starts on Monday, so that people can get reacquainted or make new acquaintances, and it kind of breaks the ice. So we did that last week. Had a great time with about a dozen or so of the people that are joining us. So I will be getting to the website soon and changing the info. If you're interested if you want to think about coming to the fall camp, September 9th, we'll have that info up and live pretty soon. But okay, that's it for the IGC things. Oh, COA members, I know you guys probably don't watch this, so don't catch it on time, but got a COA meeting tomorrow, Saturday the 13th at noon Pacific time, but that info is on the COA forum. And what I wanted to get to was the 3-minute challenge. We had and that reminds me of, this was a great excuse for me to put some Santa Cruz strings back on my guitar, because we got them to graciously donate some strings for us to give away as prizes to some of the weekly winners. And so a few people that won a weekly contest of the 3-minute challenge got a new set of Santa Cruz strings I haven't heard reports from anybody yet on those. And then we had a grand prize winner who, the grand prize for these, and we'll probably stay with this because I really had a great time doing this, was the grand prize winner, I think I mentioned last week, was BrazosOyster, and had a private lesson with him what's today? Friday? Thursday? It was just yesterday. Yeah. And we talked about, it was clear that he could play some stuff, but was not really clear in his head about what was going on. And he said one thing that kind of set the whole path. And it was, well, I've been working on trying to memorize the circle of fifths. And so I kind of said, okay, we got to stop right there. Don't waste your time memorizing the circle of fifths. But there is some really useful information there. We just have to extract the vital parts. And the vital parts for guitar players are different than they would be for a trumpet player or an oboe player or even a cello player or a piano player. And so I'm going to go into what I really recommend people kind of get a grip on as far as understanding keys and key signatures and the relationships of them. Because the important parts of the circle of fifths for guitar players are from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Keys with 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 sharps. And as you probably know, at the top of the circle is the key of C with no sharps and flats. And that's based on the notes of a C major scale, which are all the white keys from C to C, which put half steps in the specific spots where E and F and B and C fall in that scale. Well, in the C major scale, C, D, E, F, 3 to 4. G, A, B, C, 7 to 8. That is how every major scale has to go. Many of you probably already know this, so bear with me. But if you don't, this is important, that every major scale has to fit that pattern, whole steps between all of the notes except the 3rd and 4th and the 7th and 8th. And to get how this relates to the circle of fifths is that, not coincidentally, but if we take the 5th note of the C scale, C, D, E, F, G, if we start on the 5th note of our C scale and try to apply that pattern, we're going to go a whole step from G to A, and then a whole step to B, and the B to C half step fell exactly in the right place between now what's 3 and 4. So once we start our G scale, all of the notes from C are going to look good for most of the way. We get to C, whole step to D, whole step to 6 takes us to E, but now the F is wrong. We have to raise the 7th note of that scale to make the half step between 7 and 8. That's why a G scale has to have F sharp in it, because the half step, the E to F half step was at 6 to 7, and we can't have a half step there for a major scale. Mixolydian scale, different story for a different day. So, by starting on the 5th note of our C scale, we only had to change one note to make it fit the pattern, and that was note 7. So the new sharp in the key of G is F sharp, the new 7th note. Well, that's the key you got to know, G. I missed the F sharp. Well, I swung at it, I just didn't have it clean. And these are, again, the most important keys that guitar players play in all the time. So we now apply that same pattern to our 2 o'clock slot, and we figure out the 5th note of our G scale was D. And so if we start on D and go through, we're going to have D, E, F sharp, G. The F sharp to G from the old key, from the key of G, is now in the right place. It became the 3 to 4 half step. And then as we continue, we're going to get up to note 7, and it's going to be C. We have to raise it to make the half step between 7 and 8. So for our key with 2 sharps, we have the old sharp from the key of G, which was the 7th note of G, that's F, and a new sharp, the new 7th note, C. Got that so far? We extend that a couple more times, and we're going to get the 5th note of D is A. The A scale is going to have the F sharp from the key of G, the C sharp from the key of D, and its new 7th note, G sharp. So our A scale is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. A, G sharp, A. All of a sudden I flip back into G. And that's almost the end of the story, but we're going to take it to the key of E, which is the 5th note of A, and it's going to have the sharp from the key of G, which is F, the sharp from the key of D, which is C, the sharp from the key of A, which is G, and its new 7th note, which is D. So in the key of E, we've got sharps F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. Okay. So let's improvise something in E. Ooh, am I going to make it bluesy or jazzy? As soon as I did that hammer-on right there, got bluesy. Change from 12-bar blues into a little more 1920s progression with this. This is much secondary dominance. Let's go go ahead and tell you what exactly I was thinking there. So I started with an E chord, added G sharp in the bass, which is going to take me to an A, and then decided to keep going up to something a little more dissonant from the A, went all the way up to a C, which kind of almost mimicked the bass climb from E to the G sharp to the A. And now a little turnaround of E, C sharp 7, G sharp, F sharp 7, B 7. To go into a bridge, I got to use an E7 chord to get to an A of some sort. Back to the A, and F sharp to B. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Is next week? No, I'll still be here next week. The week after, I will be at camp, so probably will not have an update. But hope to have the acoustic snapshot of Karina singing up in a few days. And let's see if there's anything else I meant to mention. I don't think so. I will. Am I going to think about? No, never mind. I'll save that for later. I will see you next week.